Joining me right now is our Democrat of the day. We're heading out to 47A, which is out on the east side of town. Amanda Hemmingsen-Jaeger. Amanda, did I say that right?
Yes, that is correct. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Amanda Hemmingsen-Jaeger is running for the Minnesota House, 47A. Kind enough to take some time to join us to talk about her campaign. Hi, Amanda. Congratulations on the DFL endorsement.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You, of course, we want to go to 47A. It's basically the northern part of Woodbury, the western part of Woodbury, and Maplewood, right?
Yeah, so you kind of, if you were to slice Woodbury down the diagonal, I've got that northwest triangle, and then Maplewood in between Century and McKnight Avenues.
Let's, first of all, find out a little bit more about yourself. Who exactly is Amanda Hemmingsen-Jaeger?
Thanks. So I'm a mom. I've got two little kids. I'm also a scientist. I have degrees in policy and genetics, and I'm a union leader, so really looking collaborative in working and really wanted to bring people together with me to the Capitol.
Politics and genetics. I'm going to guess that it was the genetics first, and then you would decide, okay, I'm enjoying politics. I'm going to do that as well?
Kind of. So, yeah, so genetics came first. I've always been interested in genetics and how DNA works, and I've always had a desire to help people and really like the work that I was doing in clinical, academic, and crime labs. But I found myself getting restless behind the bench, and there was this disconnect in between the scientists doing the work, communicating their work to lawmakers and policymakers who didn't quite understand the science. And so I thought I could help bridge that gap. So I went and got the master's in policy from the Humphrey to be able to talk about science, talk about data-driven policies in a way that people can understand.
I finger painted a picture once. You are far smarter than me. Okay, I think that's fantastic. By the way, one of the things I think is wonderful about that is I love how your mind works. Is that okay? How can I make this system work? You know what? I'm going to go get my a doctorate in politics and a master's there, and I'm going to move that through. And I imagine immediately it was like, oh yeah, this is how we need to convey this.
Yeah, kind of. It was, it was one of those things where I really knew how to think analytically, but really understanding the inner workings of politics and how policy works is a little bit different than my laboratory science thinking. So it was really fun. It was really challenging, and it was great for me to learn both sides. So
you then make the decision you're going to run for 47A, and talk a little bit about that. I mean, was it, once you got into politics and you realized there was a need within your community, was it something like that? Or where did this decision come from?
It kind of just happened. So I've been getting more and more involved in my union, getting more involved on lobbying for our contracts, getting involved in our political council, and really taking an interest in how the legislative process works. And, a really unique opportunity opened up with the redistricting and with 47A. Our senator is retiring. Our incumbent representative is running for Senate in another district. So it just kind of opened up this great opportunity. And, talking to people, it was really supportive for me to run. And so I assembled a team, and now we're going to go for it.
I'll start with talking about your union experience here. And I think we are in a day and a time where right now we need to have more common sense union knowledge in our state government, because right now we've had 40 years of conservative economic policy. It's gotten us nowhere. Wages were stagnant, benefits were stagnant. We saw this great upheaval in the last year from the workers and saying, no, this is not good enough anymore. We need to have people in there that are understanding the complexities of the work, and it's just not an hourly wage. It's much more to it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, I've been really proud, union brothers and sisters, calling for unions. Starbucks has been unionizing all over. We had the big Amazon unionization. Here in the state level, union leaders are working hard to keep the cost of healthcare down, or at least keep it so it can be a little bit more manageable. Working for workers' rights to make sure that workers are respected in the workplace. Wages are always in there too. But I really think, the collective bargaining is really what keeps our working class able to work and able to make ends meet, and kind of keep the profiteering at bay as much as we can. Well, and that's the key. It's just we can't have a system that we've had where basically every dime that's been out there has gone out to a wealthy executive class at the expense of the workers. And we'll bring up. How about we just bring up daycare? And this has been an issue that's being in a lot of talk. We have daycare out there that is basically almost the entire paycheck for some people. You can't have a functioning society if basically all you're doing is taking a paycheck and handing it over to a service provider that basically is providing a service for you to have the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And my mom was in that boat when I'm the oldest of 4 kids. And when they had their third, they found out they were actually paying more money to send us to daycare than my mom was bringing in a paycheck. And fast forward, 30 some years, I still have friends that leave great jobs where they're doing great things for the community because their paycheck is going to all of daycare. So in Minnesota is one of the highest, if not the highest place to raise your kids in daycare. And we really need to be addressing that because the child care workers are the workforce behind the workforce. We need to make sure they're being taken care of, that they have a sustainable business and that they can have the spots open so that us working families can be able to go to work and provide the services that Minnesota needs.
Your district, one of the other issues that we should touch on is your district's great. I know Susan Kent very well. I've been over to Woodbury quite a bit. It's a great town. As a matter of fact, as I've talked to Senator Kent a few times, I mean, Woodbury is a great example, and nothing against fine folks in Maplewood as well, but just when I've talked about Woodbury, it's a fine example of how you embrace suburban growth correctly, and they've done such a magnificent job out there. Talk a little bit more about that, continuing that process, because once again, it's a very desirable part of the town to be in right now.
Yeah, so Woodbury has been very thoughtful with how we've been expanding. It's been expanding mostly on the B side of the district, but I know our city has been taking great care to make sure that it's a very thoughtful, a very measured approach, and that, we're providing the services as we continue to welcome in new residents. It is kind of a unique situation that, we're a suburb in a metro area, but we haven't quite reached our city limits line yet, so...
Well, and it's interesting because I'll give Bloomington as an example because I think Woodbury is kind of heading in that way. You're right. My mom remembers when there was dirt roads south of Southdale. It was you went 494, and if any road that went south of 494 was a dirt road. And you look at it now, and they've got their own business strip on 494, the Mall of America. They've got a lot of growth. It's a big suburb. Woodbury kind of is getting that same point, too, because and this is where I get it's when you have a suburb people want to be in that the growth continues there. And, it is, and I know you've got a lot of growth that's already happened, especially on that west side with 94 as well as also 694 there. But it really is still a place that's going to continue to grow, and I think you're going to see some really good things there because you guys are doing it right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great community to live in, and I think what's really cool now is we're getting more public transit options coming in with our Gold Line coming into Woodbury, kind of expanding out, getting a good mix of business and housing and making sure, again, it's thoughtful because we want people to not only come to our city, but we want them to be able to live here and thrive here too.
Amanda Hemmingsen-Jaeger joining us, 47A Democrat of the day. Let's talk about education. Once again, we all saw it in this last 2 years. Our education system, they did a fantastic job. The teachers, educators, administrators rolling with the punches here, but we have to keep investing in our education system because the reality is that we saw where some of the potholes are within the education system, and we need to make sure that we take care of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to reinvest in our education system. For a while now, we've been taking money away from our education system, and teachers and staff and students and parents have been crying for a long time that we need to be giving more resources to these schools. Special education is a great example. Teachers being able to teach and have time to teach and let alone time to have lunch. But they're stressed, and I think with the COVID pandemic happening, that just exacerbated and really showed us where those cracks are. And if we don't do something to address it, it's all just going to crumble. And we need to make sure that we're doing it in an equitable way so that all of our kiddos, our youngest learners, are getting good quality access to education no matter their income, no matter their zip code or their background.
As well, and I've talked about this a lot because of healthcare. I think this it should be an important issue every election, especially considering what the opposing party put forward with their anti-vax and anti-social distancing and anti-max policies. The reality is that we need to invest in healthcare. We have pretty good healthcare here, but we need people in the state who are going to be looking at a statewide approach to this, because we saw, once again, a lot of gaps that were exposed in the pandemic in the healthcare system statewide.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think healthcare has gotten to a point where we just need to reimagine it. We need to do something about it, because there are too often, and I have a story of two uncles. One is very wealthy. He's able to get great treatment, great care, and I'm glad he's getting that care. I have another uncle who does not have that type of wealth, and he's really struggling. And we can't be putting haves and have-nots when we're talking about healthcare and the ability to live and thrive. So we really need to look at how we're doing our healthcare system, and we need to do it differently. And
that's exactly it. I mean, it's we have to have a much more common sense approach here, that especially the preventative maintenance stuff that we can have out there, that it's not being vilified and it's being embraced, so that everyone can have the chance to not be sick and not be bankrupt or, God forbid, die from a treatable disease.
Right, and when you think about something like healthcare, you need to be thinking about, your physical health, your mental health, and if people aren't healthy, it can affect so many things. It affects your ability to work. Well, now our economy is strained. It affects your ability to learn, and now that's going to affect our education. People should be able to take the time away to care for themselves and care for their loved ones, and that's a public health concern. Mm-hmm. So, healthcare, it ties into so many things, into the health of our community and the success of our community.
And you brought up another one there, which is so important, the mental health care. My goodness, I've talked to a lot of mental health care professionals. We are on the precipice of a very major mental health care crisis. We don't have enough specialists. We don't have enough clinics. We do not have enough counselors. We don't have enough nurses. And we have not only something that's affected every adult here, but a huge problem within our young children today as they've gone through this pandemic, that we need to have more money into that mental health side of the health care issue as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100% agree.
Yeah. Can we, on one personal issue, if you don't mind me, can you introduce a bill to basically make the people up in Lake Elmo change those roads on the north side of 94 so they match your roads?
I can do.
Make Radio Drive just go all the way through. I don't know what Lake Elmo is doing, but Woodbury Drive, Radio Drive, those should just be the roads. It's one of the most confusing things over there on the east side of town. I don't know what Lake Elmo is doing.
Yeah, that is tricky. I know. Radio turns into Inwood, and Woodbury Drive turns into something else. But I'll make some friends and see what we can do.
Pull that Lake Elmwood representative over close and see if we can get a bill done on that. This is not a joke, people, because these are seats that until recently were fairly reliable Republican seats, and only recently has the DFL made very big inroads there. The Republicans, they need to win these seats if they are going to win the Minnesota House. And so this is a seat they have targeted this. They're not going to care about St. Paul. They're not going to care about Minneapolis. Those districts are gone, but they are sure going to fight in this district. So we need to make sure we get volunteers and donations out to make sure that Amanda can get into St. Paul and represent 47A in the state capitol. Amanda, what's the website? How do people get in touch if they do want to make a donation or volunteer?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm here to fight for working families and would love the support. Amanda for mnhouse.com is my website. It's a lot easier to remember than my full name, but would love to have you. Would love to have the help and support. And come out to Maplewood and Woodbury.
You've got a great name, Amanda Hemmingsen-Jaeger. That's a great name. Trust me, I've got a few in this state capital that I got some. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. Yours is melodic. It's lovely.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Amanda Hemmingsen-Jaeger. Once again, 47A. The website is amanda4mnhouse.com. I'll link to everything a little bit later on. Help out if you can. I mean, once again, it comes down to this. If you door knock every door in that district, Amanda will win. It's just that simple. And it's right in the metro. It's over on the east side. If you haven't been to Woodbury, it's cute. Go over there. You'll have a great time. Amanda Hemmingsen-Jaeger, thank you very much. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you so much, Matt.
My pleasure. Democrat of the day for today. Let's take a break. Come on back. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.